Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your tangled yogi out here in Northern California. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Neon Bliss class. I'm so excited to bring you this class. I just got done teaching it for the Napa Public Library, and I thought it would be really fun to share it with you. So let's talk about the things that we're going to need for class today. You're going to want to have your micron pen, your white gel pen. I have a Mizu Love, but you can use the Sakura White or the Signo Uniball White. A graphite pencil for building your string and your border. I will be working with the Genesis tile from the Tangled Yogi shop, but if you don't have the Genesis tile, grab your sketchbook. Hopefully it has nice smooth paper or some cardstock, and make a square that's 4.5 by 4.5, and we are going to get started with the Neon Bliss class. So let's start with a grounding exercise before we do our Zentangle practice. Allow your feet to touch down onto the floor here, letting your hands rest into your lap. Let your shoulders melt away from your ears, letting your spine grow comfortably tall. And if you're okay with it, allow your eyes to close for a moment. And just taking a moment to notice the breath as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Noting if the breath is long and full, or maybe it's got a short and jagged quality. Without judging anything, just allow it to be exactly how it is right now. And then let's go ahead and start to work with the breath here. Breathing in to the count of 4. Holding the breath in for 4. And then exhaling to the count of 8. Inhaling for 4. Hold the breath in for 4. And exhaling to the count of 8. Last time, in for 4. Hold for 4. And exhaling to the count of 8. Letting your breath return to its natural pace and just noticing if the breath is a little bit more full, if there's a little bit more ease to the breath. And in your own timing now, wiggling in your fingertips and wiggling in your toes, and gently blinking the eyes open as you add vision back in. And let's get started. Let's go ahead and begin by starting the regular old-fashioned Zentangle way and put our dots into our corners here with our graphite pencil. And then you're going to see me start to connect my dots together to create a border. So the border is really nice because it gives a frame to the piece, and it can really make a piece look finished once you have completed your Zentangle. So you can see there that I have my border. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to develop what we call a string. So sometimes if you look at a piece and it feels a little overwhelming where you don't know where to start to create, sometimes breaking up the shape can make it really very interesting and easy to throw in patterns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the top of each line here in the middle, and I'm going to make a dot in the middle. And this is going to help me to create the string. So you can see that I put the dots in the middle, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to just freehand it here, and I'm going to connect my dots once again, and you'll see that this is going to give me a diamond in the middle. Turning the tile. And there you can see I have my diamond. Go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to work on the string just a little bit more. So you can see that I have the diamond in the center here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the little triangles that we've created on the outside, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to divide those. So you can see I'm just coming in from the corner to the center, turning the tile from the corner towards the center. Just like so. And so now you can see that that has made all of these areas around the piece that I can work in to create some really fun patterns. So now that we have our string in place here, I've picked up my micron PN pen, and we're going to start to ink in our diamond and our string. So you can see that I'm just going to come in and ink right over the lines here, just to make this a little bit more substantial. I always like to start with graphite when I'm doing my string because it can help me to feel a little bit more confident in my lines. And if I need to change anything, I still have the option to change it. So you can see that I'm just going to come down now from the outside in. And this pen is a little bit older, so I might have to come in a couple of times. It's always nice if you have a brand new fresh pen. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my outside border as well. So you're going to see me just go from triangle to triangle and connect. I find that it's much easier to do smaller, shorter lines than it is to do longer lines all in one consecutive shot. So you can see that I lift up and then I put my hand over just a little bit. So just coming through, just like so. So that now you can see there's my tile ready to go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and learn our first tangle of the class today. And so this tangle that we're going to be doing, many of you have done with me before. This is zonked, and I love this one because you can do so much with it. And zonked is just basically a triangle with a triangle inside and another triangle. And let's go ahead and zoom in on that for you. And then what you can do is you bring a little bit of weight to the tip, and it gives it kind of just a really nice geometric look. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in our piece here, and I'm going to zoom out. And I want you to notice this particular triangle in the piece. We're going to be working on the left-hand side of the diamond here, and every time I move my tile, we're going to come back to that specific triangle. So you get my drift, right? All right, so here we go. We're going to start just by bringing in zonked into the piece, and because we have this really nice V from the triangle, we can just go ahead and aura in. And I'm going to do a little bit thicker of a triangle in here, and then I'm going to go again, just like so. Now you're going to see that I'm going to come in and make the tip, and you can see that I got a little bit of a oopsortunity there, but that's okay. And then I'll do one right here. Okay, So now I'm going to turn my tile clockwise. So you're going to see me go a full rotation here. See how I just went? Now this piece is on the side. I'm going right back to where I was. Same thing. So zonked right here, taking your time, doing a nice weight at the end of zonked. And then turning the tile once again clockwise. Here we go again, right in the same spot that we were before. Coming in. Just like so. And now we're putting the weight on the tip. And once again, rotating and coming right back in. Take your time. And there you have zonked in the piece, and it's already starting to look pretty cool, don't you think? All right, so take your time and finish that up, and then when we come back, we're going to start to add a new tangle into the piece. Okay, so we're going to add another Zentangle into the piece here, and we're going to be doing a tangle called pronto. And pronto is just a spiral, or in French, it's the word for spring. So you can see this looks like a coil or a spring. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come back into the piece here, and I'm just going to zoom in on this here. And I want you to focus on these two triangles right here. See how they're almost diagonal to each other? So I'm going to start by coming in, and I'm going to do a really nice C curve here. So you're going to see me start with like a little hook, and then I'm going to come out and make a little bit of a C curve. And you're going to see me come up and touch the wall, come back and around, and then I'm going to come back and around again. And then I'll do a little bit of a line here and there to make it look as though that spiral continues. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to turn my tile to make it easy for my hands. So you can see now that coil is over here, and I'm going to do another one right over there. So I'm going to come in and start with a little bit of a hook, and then once I have that, I'll go ahead and I'll start to create my C curve. Coming up and out, start to touch the walls. Just like so. And you can see that this has a nice juxtaposition to that really angulated tangle that we have over here with zonked. This has a nice curved feeling to it. It's more organic. So it's really nice to have those two kind of playing off of each other. We're only going to do two of these because I want to introduce another tangle into these other triangles. Okay? So just do these two, and then when we come back, we're going to start to bring in one of my favorite tangles, poke root. So our next tangle is poke root, and poke root is one of those really nice variations on poke leaf. But poke root is a really nice basic tangle here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just make a stem, a little frowny face on the top, and then you're going to see me go below that frowny face and create this kind of arc that goes over the top, and it almost makes this look like a cherry. Now, if you want to do your poke root with a little bit of a shadow inside of it, you can close off that arc and create a little bit of a shadow there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my piece over, and you're going to see me come back to this spot where I've got the open tangle here. Now you'll notice that my V is facing downward here, and I'm going to start from the center or the very tip of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to start by making my stem, and then I'll do the frowny face, and then I'll come in and I'll make my poke root. So there's the first one. Now my second one is going to come off of the side here. There's my stem. There's the frowny face. Here it comes, so I'm going to come up, I'm going to touch the side here, and then watch what's going to happen. I'm going to touch down on the top of that poke root, and I'm going to do a technique that we call holly baw in Zentangle, and that's where you lift up your pen and you come out the other side, and it looks as though this is behind this now. Let's go over to the other side and do the same thing. So you're going to see me come in, make my little stem, little frowny face on the top, and then I'm going to go ahead, come up, touch the side. I'm going to touch where that other poke root is, and then I'm going to lift up, holly baw, and come back in. And you can see that that fills the space in a really nice way. So let's go ahead and do the other one. So you're going to see me turn my tile clockwise here, just getting it so that that V is facing downward again. See how my diamond is facing upward and then my V is facing down. I'm going to come in, create that stem, frowny face, go ahead and do the poke root, and then once again coming over to the side, frowny face, coming up, touch the edge, touching that poke root, come out the other side, and there's one more. Over here on the side, nice stem, frowny face, come up, touch the top, touch the poke root, and then come back and in by lifting up your pen, so that when I go ahead and I zoom out, I've got this really interesting composition on the piece here. It's got a lot of interesting details that make you look at the piece and makes your eye kind of bounce around. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to focus on the center. Okay, so we're going to come back to the concept of the string here just for a moment. And what this is going to look like is you can see that I've picked up my graphite pencil again. We're going to make a string in the center of the piece. So you can see that I've got this line right here and I've got this line right here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to connect those through the center here as much as we can. And you can see I'm going fairly lightly with that graphite pencil. I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'm just coming in, and now I've divided the space. So you can see that I've got this really nice division inside of the space here. It almost looks like an X. Now I'm going to come into the center of this piece, and right in the center I'm going to put a circle. And I would say that that circle is probably about the size of a pea or a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to go ahead again and I'm going to do an aura around that circle. Now once I have that, I'm going to pick back up my micron pen and I'm going to go ahead and ink in my circle. And then I'm going to do another circle right around it. So we're going to do a tangle called span flow, and the best way to teach you it is actually to just do it. So we're going to just do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up from the bottom and I'm going to make a nice teardrop shape or an elongated petal. And you can see that I'm working in this square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and go back to the center I'm going to step down, touch the edge, go back to the center, come in, back to the center, and you're going to see me turn my tile a little bit, and I'm going to do a smaller one right here. I'm going to go to the other side and do the same. Coming over and in, over and in, and I've got room for one more right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to work my way around the piece. So you're going to see me go into each one of these, coming up and touching the edge, and dropping down again. Coming up, touch the edge, drop back down, up, touch the edge, right back down, up, touch the edge, right back down. I can do a small one right in there, and then I'll come over here. Same thing. Touch the edge, and then I have room for a small one right there. So you can see that this is making a really interesting kind of graphic flower in the center here, coming up, and then over to the side, over to the side, one more time, room for a small one right at the bottom, same thing over here. Room for a small one at the bottom, coming over, coming up to the top, coming over to the edge, over to the edge, one more time, small one at the bottom, over to the side, over to the side, one more, and a small one to close it all off. So you can see that we get this really interesting tangle in the center, but what I love is right about to happen. So we're going to come in and we're going to do some pooling of ink or puddling of the ink here. And so what this is going to look like is I'm going to start with these kind of weird triangle shapes that are all around the piece. These are called interstices. And I'm puddling the ink. And remember, when you're working with a micron, you want to go really nice and light. So the lighter you go, the more the ink flows. And then you can see I've got this kind of strange shape in here. And what I love about this is that, you know, when you have something that's really graphic in nature, like these black pieces that we're doing, it really makes it pop. And so when you come in here with your micron pen and you pool in the ink, it really makes a very cool feeling. And this is a very forgiving tangle for sure. So you can see that I'm coming into the center and working my way around. And I'm just going to pool my ink into all these little interstices that I have here. Come down into this wild kind of shape that we've gotten here. And you can see that I'm doing little circles with my pen. That makes it so that I don't get a lot of scratch in my background. When you work in little circles, you get a more even mist of color. So you can see that this is really going to pop right off the page. Look at how beautiful that is. So I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. And already this is really kind of cool. So I'm going to go into each one of those quadrants and do that filling in of the ink. You go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we're going to start to add color into the piece. Okay, so we're going to get started with color here, and I'm going to pick up two colors that I really love working with. This is PC 905. This is aquamarine in the Prismacolor pencil line, and then I also have in my hand the denim blue, which is PC 1101. These are great colors to use together, but if you don't have the same colors as me, choose a light blue and a dark blue and you'll be just fine. So I'm going to start with the light blue first, and I'm going to start with a shading technique that's going to give a really nice highlight into the center of the piece. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this, and you can see that my pencil is really well and sharpened up here, and I'm going to go really, really lightly with that pencil. I want to get just a nice foundation of color. Now you'll notice that I'm just staying on the sides of this really fun petal-like shape. And I'm getting this kind of white highlight right in the center of the piece. Now once I have that, I'm going to go in towards the bottom and I'm going to press a little bit heavier with that aquamarine. This is that lighter color still. And I'm also going to do the same thing up at the top, giving this a little bit more intensity. Once I have that, I'm going to go around to the other ones and do the same. So I'm just going to go nice and light, really staying close to the edge. You can see that I'm letting my pencil move very fluidly and softly. So if you get in your head too much about this, it's going to feel really stiff and not organic. So you just want to let your pencil flow. Don't get in your head about it. Just keep it really nice and light. You know that you're adding in just a little bit of light into the center, and then you're coming back towards the bottom and giving it a little push. Kind of come back out, give a little bit of depth on the edge, and once again, a dusting, keeping that light in the center, and then dropping back down again. I'm going to go ahead and come over to the other side and do the same thing. So I'm just dusting, staying around the edge, and coming around, giving it a little bit of a push and a little bit of a dust right at the top. Nice and heavy there. Once again, coming in, hovering around the edge. Get that nice highlight in towards the center. Isn't that so cool how that really brings so much dimension to what could have been a very flat kind of piece? And then once again, hovering. Keep that pencil light. Dust a little heavier at the bottom and then up towards the top. See those little pieces at the bottom? Really just staying right along the edge, trying to keep a little bit of light in there. Now, you're going to see me pick up my darker pencil. This is that darker blue, the denim blue, and I'm going to start to dust in a little bit of darkness right on the tips of this piece and right out on the edge. Just looking for the drama here. Now, if your pencil isn't sharpened up, you may want to sharpen it up just so that you get right on the edges there. A dull pencil won't give you the detailing that you're looking for. And then you're going to see me just hover down the lines of the piece. So I'm actually just dusting down the black lines. Coming in right over here, right over here. And look at how pretty that is. Now I'm going to bring out my blending pencil. This is the one that I love to use, the PC938. It's the white from Prisma. People ask me all the time, why do I like to use the white pencil? One, I love to see what it does to the color. It really makes the color get much more creamy and interesting. And two, you're always able to work over the top of white, whereas with a blender pencil, it's really set and you can't move anything afterwards. So I'm going to come in and you can see there's a lot of texture on my paper here. Watch what happens when I start to add the white. So I'm going to start right where it's nice and light. And you're going to see me start to do little circles and watch what's happening with that color. It's starting to get this really nice kind of translucency to it, which is really beautiful. And then I'm going to let that color start to hover into that center. So you can see that I'm letting it be a little bit, how shall we say, a little bit more organic. It doesn't have a lot of perfection to that circle. It has a little bit of inconsistency to it. So noticing the difference there and really kind of playing with that, pulling down some of that darker blue, getting that really pretty shadow. Can see that I'm just kind of cleaning that up as I go, looking for any spaces where I have inconsistency in the color. So starting up where it's lightest first and then diving down to where it's darker, hovering up the sides, little circles. Same thing over here, pulling down some of that darker blue, getting that really neat shading technique. Same thing over here, starting where it's light, and then little circles, really giving it a nice push, dragging down some of that darker stuff from the top. Already loving the way this is looking here. Little circles with that pencil. Want it to look like it's got an organicness about it. And then coming up from the bottom and the top, really being careful to leave some light in there. Same thing over here. So just starting down at the bottom and then working your way up. You can see that I'm working to keep the light in there. Little circles with the pencil. Continuing. Dragging down some of that darker blue so that when I zoom out, look at how cool that is. It has a really nice three-dimensional feel to it. And this is what I love about shading with color, is that it really can bring a lot of excitement to a piece, and it can also bring a lot of dimensionality to a piece. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to go into all of these different pieces and do that same thing. It might take you a little bit, but really just enjoy working with your colored pencils. You know, they say that coloring is really good for the brain, so really just let your mind be right with the color that you're working with, okay? Relax your shoulders, soften your jaw, and have fun. Okay, so isn't that fun? I'm really loving the way that's looking. It's got a lot of just pizzazz to it. It's really got a lot of dimension. So we're going to come out to our poke roots here, and I'm going to just turn my piece on its side, and we're going to start to work with these particular tangles. And I had mentioned cherries earlier, and it is cherry season, which is so nice, and so I decided that I was going to pick up a color combination that is a dark red and a pink. So you can see the pink that I'm working with is the hot pink, which is PC993. And then I've got my magenta, which is PC938, or rather PC930. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by doing a soft dusting of that pink right over the top of poke root. Now you'll notice that I'm going really lightly and I'm going to leave a light source on the left hand side. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that. So a nice soft dusting of color. This is the pink. And you can see that once I've got that nice light dusting of color and I'm leaving that lightness over in the left hand side, I'm going to pick up the magenta and I'm going to start to dust the magenta over the pink. And what I'm trying to do is develop a shadow. So you can see there's a little bit of that pink left over and then this shadow of the magenta over the top of it. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then I'm also going to do it right over here. I love to layer colors because I think it makes it look really rich. And so you're going to see me come back in and I'm going to do a heavier press with that magenta right along that black line. I'm trying to develop that really nice intensity of color. Getting right in here. Now I'm going to pick back up that pink and I'm just going to do a soft dusting of where the magenta was meeting the pink, and you can see that that's taking out the line of demarcation. See how there's this hard line right there? I'm just going to dust it with a little bit of the pink going in a little circle right over that line, just to soften it up. Now, I know that you are already seeing where I'm going with this, but I'm going to pick up my white, make sure that there's no blue left on it from where I was blending before, and I'm just going to start nice and light in the lightest part of where the poke root is with the pink, and I'm doing little circles, and then I'm going to start to pull backwards and drag some of that magenta forward. Same thing in here, and you can see that that gives this a really nice kind of buttery feel versus this one right here that has a little bit of granulation to it. So once again, little circles, dusting back, dragging some of that color forward, getting a really nice feel. Now, you know, Zentangle is an international phenomenon. It's not just practiced in the United States, it's everywhere. And I saw a really beautiful technique that was done by a Japanese tangler where she came back in and she would do these little lines that would curl just a little bit with her poke root, and I just thought it was such a beautiful technique that I like to use it on some of my poke roots too. It just gives it this kind of graphic feel. So you can see that those really have a nice look to them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to start to work with these down here. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine over here, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work with pronto. Okay, so we're going to let go of the reds just for a little while, and I'm going to bring in violet here. This is PC932. This is one of my favorite colors in the Prismacolor set, and we're going to start to work with pronto. You want to make sure that you're good and sharpened up for this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by doing a dusting of the violet on the inside edge of pronto. You'll notice that I'm staying really, really close to that black line in here as I'm starting to work my way around. And what we're going to start to see is that we're going to get this kind of stream of light in the center of pronto. Okay, and so you can see I'm going to add just a little dusting of a shadow there. And then I'm going to come in over here and do the same thing. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to zoom in on this so that you can really see it, I'm going to come to the other side of this as well. And you'll start to see this band get a little bit narrower. Of light. So you can see that I'm just narrowing out that light, and it's starting to give this a little bit of dimension. Now I'm going to start to come back into the inside of the piece, and you're going to see me start to press a little bit harder on that violet there. So you can see that I'm starting to get a little bit of a shadow on the inside as I press a little bit harder. I would say I'm using a medium pressure. This particular pencil has a ton of pigmentation to it, so I don't have to press that hard to get it to do what I want it to do. Coming up over here, and once again over here. Now I'm going to pick up that white pencil. You want to make sure there's nothing on that white pencil from the magenta, and you're going to see me just start on the inside, and I'm going to start to drag that color around just a little bit. Little circles. Just a soft dusting. Getting that nice intensity of color. Just dragging it around. Nice and soft. Same thing in here. And then I'm going to come out to the outside edge and do the same thing. So I'm blurring out the color. And you'll notice that I'm really trying to get kind of this inconsistent line in here. I want it to feel like it has an organic flavor to it. Sometimes when lines are really hard, it loses the organic feel. And you can see that that's brought a ton of dimension into the piece. Now I'm going to continue to pick up that violet here, and you can see that I'm just starting to work over the top a little bit with the violet, just to give it a little bit more shadow and a little bit more softening. And then I'll come out to the outer edge, and I'm going to start to bring in a little dusting into both sides of these triangles in here. So you're going to see me just dust on either side, leaving that light source in the center, and then picking up the white and blurring out the edges. What I love about the violet is that it acts like two different colors in the Prismacolor set. It acts like Parma purple, which is one of my favorite colors, and then it acts, you can use the violet to get it to be just a really heavy color. So I love that it has that kind of diversity to it. When you add that white, it gets really kind of light and creamy, and then when you add a little bit more of the violet, you get the depth that you're wanting to have. So, a lot of the time in my videos I talk about a color pencil being 3 different colors, and with this one you definitely can see a lot of dimension in this color. So you can see that's how I'm going to handle my pronto. Now you can see that I have it down here. I'm just going to flip my tile and I'm going to do the same exact thing that I just did. So you go ahead and do yours and I'm going to finish up mine. So you can see how fun that is. It really plays so nicely with these other colors too, which I love. So what we're going to do is we're going to let go of the purple just for a little while, and then we're going to bring it back in a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over into my oranges. You can see that I've got a light yellow, kind of warm yellow, and then a nice light orange. I'm working with the yellowed orange, which is PC1002, and then I'm also working with the PC118. We're going to start to work with zonked, and we're going to use a very similar technique as we just did with our pronto. Now remember, the idea is to leave a little bit of light in the whole piece. So I'm going to start with the yellow first, and you can see that I'm just going to add a dusting of that yellow, and you want to be careful not to touch the blue that's on the inside because it'll turn that yellow green. So I'm just going to dust through here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So you'll notice that we're going to get that band of white going down the center. You want to make sure that your pencil is good and sharpened up for this. A dull pencil is not going to work. And so you're going to see me start to work through the piece, adding that band of light. It almost gives this a neon kind of feel. So this technique is sometimes used in Zen button classes, which is really fun. It's a really great technique. You could look up Zen buttons if you're on YouTube. And there's tons of classes, I'm sure, on YouTube with the Zen buttons. So this technique is very similar to what they use in those classes. Now you can see I've picked up my darker orange and I'm just going along the edge and adding in some of that darker orange to get that neon kind of feel. You're going to see me just go right underneath the black. Same thing over here. And same thing over here. Now, normally I would pick up the white, and I probably still will at a certain point, but I'm picking back up the yellow, and I'm just going to do little circles with the yellow first. I want to blur some of that orange out. So when you have such a light color like that yellow, it's really wonderful to work with instead of the white because you get a richer kind of glow with it. And so what's nice about this is that that yellow has a lot of pigment in it, but it also has a lot of wax. And the wax moves around that darker color. So I'm just kind of dipping into this area right in here, getting that kind of hover. And I missed an area with the orange, so I'm just going to bring that back in with some of the orange. And you can already see that this is getting this really nice kind of neon looking piece. Coming back in with some of that orange right on the side where the black is, and getting it to glow. So that when I zoom out, look at how cool that is. Isn't that fun? So once again, if you want to pick up your white, you can pick up your white. Just make sure that it's clean and it doesn't have any blue or purple on it. And you can use that to soften up your colors a little bit so that they don't have too much texture to them. Unless you're wanting texture, then by all means, leave it alone. But look at how cool that is. Isn't that fun? So I'm going to go all the way around and I'm going to do that in each one of my zonked. You go ahead and do yours. Have fun. So let's go ahead and take our purple, the violet that we were using, and we're going to bring it into the background of where our cherries are, our poke root is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up that violet, and you want to make sure that you're good and sharpened up. And I'm just dusting through with a little bit of softness. Getting right in there. Trying to give that a really nice kind of coherency with what is going on in the rest of the piece. Now you'll notice that up in the corners I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow. And I'll go over to the other side and do the same thing as well. And then I'll go and dust. I'm going to pick up that white. Remember, you want to make sure there's nothing on that white because you'll drag colors into the piece that you might not want to have there. Like orange can make purple feel like mud. And so, if you were working in maybe like an autumn-like situation, that would be okay. But because we're in spring, we're looking for something a little bit lighter. So I'm just coming in and dusting that in with a little bit of softness. And you can see that that's just giving it a really nice feel in that corner. And you can see how that bounces off of these two pieces. So I'm going to continue to play with this and get it nice and cleaned up. You go ahead and do yours, and then I'll also come over here and do the same thing, and that's going to give this a really nice fill in with the piece. Okay, so go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine. So I'm just loving the way that's looking. Isn't that got a really nice soft feel to it? It just plays so nicely with the rest of the piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick back up my orange here and I'm going to start to bring that into the center of the piece just to give it a little bit of pop. You know how I always love to carry things around in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the center and I'm going to do just a soft dusting of that light yellow first, leaving a little bit of a light source on the left-hand side. And let's go ahead and zoom in on that a little bit. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a little bit of that orange right next to the yellow. I'll pick up some of that white and I will start to blur the two together. And you can see that that really softened out that orange quite a bit. Now, what I like to do is I like to pick up a little bit of that magenta and I'm going to just add a splash of it right next to the black line. I'm going to pick up my yellow and I'm going to just blur it out a little bit. And you can see that that gives this a really nice intensity on the inside. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to do some highlights with the white gel pen. So I have my white gel pen in my hand. This is the Mizu Love, but you could use the Sakura Jelly Roll or the Signo Uniball White. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come into the center of the piece here, and I'm going to start to dust a little bit of that white right in on the side to give it a little bit of a sheen. I'm also going to come over to my cherries that I have up here and I'm going to add a little bit of sheen into the cherries. I'll come in right in here and do the same. So you can see that I'm going to come over and just turn my piece upside down or right side up. It really doesn't matter because it's a Zentangle. There is no right side up or down. And just bring those in. And then finally, because I have so much black in here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some white dots that are coming away from the center. So you're going to see me turn my tile and just turn the piece around. And you can see that that brings a really nice dimension into the piece. I'm also going to come into these neat triangles that formed in here and bring some dots in there as well. Super fun, and it's just an easy way to bring in a new element to the piece. So go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we're going to add just a little bit of graphite to the piece. So I'm going to bring a little bit of graphite into this, and I'm going to come up where my cherries are first. And I'm just going to do a light dusting of graphite up towards the top and down towards the bottom, just getting a little bit of a sheen on those stems. So a little bit of graphite goes a long way here, and I try to use graphite very sparingly because it does have a tendency to smear and smudge. I'm going to go ahead and turn the piece and come over to where the other ones are. And just get right in there. And then the last part that I'm going to do is I'm going to come into where the gemstone is in the center, and you're going to see me do just a very soft dusting of graphite on the side here. And then I'm going to do a little bit of graphite just over here as well, just to get a little bit of sheen working around that. And if you want to blend it out with a blender, you're more than welcome to do that. Mine is so small that it would just be kind of, it won't really do much for it. So you can see that I've got that nice sheen of light in there, and I'm just playing around with the graphite and getting it to have a little bit of pop to it. So now is the time where I like to start looking at things and thinking, okay, well maybe I want a little bit of drama here by adding a little bit more violet in the corners. I'm really just letting my eye kind of dance over the piece and decide, what do I want to see? Is there something missing? Have some of my lines gotten a little messy with the color pencil? Is there anything that I'd like to change that I feel like is necessary for the piece? And then once I've had a chance to look, I can, make that assessment. Like in here, I'm looking at my zonked, and it got a little bit messy where the color got to it. So I'm just going in and changing things up. So you go ahead and look around yours. Sorry about that. And see where you want to make some changes. See where you want to clean up your lines a little bit. And then after you've had a chance to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my chop into the piece. And I always like to hide my chop. So I'm actually going to come into zonked over here and just put my initial. So by putting your initial in, it's kind of your way of saying that you have completed the piece and you're ready to move on and let go. Although I never want to let go. And so, so that's a really nice way of saying that you've completed the piece and that you've had a chance to look over it. And just taking a moment to offer gratitude for this time that you took to enjoy yourself and create and really enjoy the creative process. So if you enjoyed the class today, go ahead and give us a thumbs up or leave us a nice review. Even better, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified anytime I add a video to my YouTube page. If you love the class and you want to learn more classes and try some more advanced classes, you can go to my website, which is tangledyogi.com, and there's a videos page there with some more intricate classes that are a lot of fun and really, really beautiful. I enjoy them, and I hope that you do too. Well, that's it for me. I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.